What I am is what's in me, and I'll stay strong, that's who I'll be. And I will always be the best me that I can be. There's only one me, I admit. Have a dream, I'll follow it. It's up to me to try. I'ma keep my head up high, keep on reaching high. Never gonna quit, I'll keep getting stronger.
Since society has always had a clear inclination to protect its children, a lot of research has been conducted to see whether or not children's educational TV actually has a positive influence in culture and in its history and scientifically. Regardless of its negative connotations, children's educational TV actually does have that opportunity and carries through.
Alright, so since young children, they're so susceptible to being swayed in their ideas, especially by educational television, parents, producers, and children, they do see educational television as a way to introduce influential ideas into their lives. And possibly it'll help to mold them into being understanding, knowledgeable, and morally correct beings. Alright, so also to investigate the impact of today's educational television on the lives of our children, we need to look at first how one must acknowledge how the shows of the past that touched children of the past, and also how scientific studies show promise regarding the effects of educational television on children, and finally about how television has the potential to shape the minds of children to promote a culture of acceptance.
So here we have a picture from the first season of Sesame Street, produced in late 1969, and here a picture from the 46th season of Sesame Street, produced in 2015. So over the years, children's educational television has advanced along with society. Its sets have become more innovative, its backgrounds more vibrant, but overall it's really stayed true to some guiding principles. Both past and current shows have been able to educate their viewers and enhance their worldly knowledge. Since its start in the late 1960s, Sesame Street has been a successful source of informal education. In Newsweek, Lisa Gernset and Joshua Alston wrote that Sesame Street's viewers performed better on mathematics, vocabulary, and reading skills. Before Sesame Street, children entered kindergarten knowing very little, so that their teachers were forced to develop the fundamental skills they needed in order to better their educations. But after Sesame Street was made more accessible and became more popular, they just had to enhance these, which took much less time. In the Washington Post, Jim Tankersley analyzed Sesame Street and found that after it was made more easily accessible to its viewers, they saw a 14% drop in the likelihood of a child falling behind in school. This 14% is similar to the effects of Head Start, a traditional preschool program, and excluded a significant portion of society which could have still benefited from Sesame Street's effects. More recently, Sesame Street has made an addition to its cast, which has stayed true to its guiding principles. By adding Julia, an autistic character, they've created an outlet to teach children to accept their autistic peers. In CNN, an article stated that even though Julia may cover her ears at the sound of the blender, or not make direct eye contact in conversation, she's still definitely normal. So by familiarizing children with autism at such an early age, Julia will be able to increase the knowledge of autism in children, create a way for parents to talk to their children about autism, and almost most importantly, allow production companies to convey such an important message. The futures of the young viewers are in the hands of the production companies, so by endorsing the acceptance of personal differences like autism, they're able to shape their audiences into more socially developed human beings. Just like Sesame Street, Teletubbies has also been able to promote acceptance over the years. Although it may appear simply to be about 4 colorful aliens, it actually promotes the budding acceptance in its characterization of Tinky Winky. In the New York Times, Laurie Mathwin wrote that in his February 1999 issue of the National Liberty Journal, televangelist Jerry Falwell called Tinky Winky a gay role model for the toddler following. Tinky Winky is a male with a somewhat feminine voice, carries a red purse, is purple, the gay pride color, and has a triangle on top of his head, the gay pride symbol. And being a pastor, Falwell was clearly against the show for creating such a character and sending the message that gay is okay. And also, Carrie H. Robinson of Western Sydney University attacked Tinky Winky for damaging the soundness of the nuclear family. But overall, Tinky Winky did much more help than harm, much like Ellen DeGeneres and Elton John have done for the gay communities. Really, Tinky Winky was an early step in the right direction toward acceptance of the gay community. He provided a conversation starter between parents and children, allowing them to discuss a topic that may have been hard to talk about otherwise with children of such young ages. And by familiarizing children with an accepted gay character at such young ages, it will hopefully make them more accepting at later times in their lives. But by no means are Sesame Street and Teletubbies the only children's educational television shows that have positively impacted the development of children. These shows have simply been around, their effects have lasted for generations, and they have been a major topic of research, making them the perfect models for all other children's educational television shows.
Along with the evolution of the children's educational television show comes the evolution of television advertisements. In 1990, Congress passed the Children's Television Act, which limited the amount of commercials in educational programming. The act focused on three major aspects. The first was limiting commercial time per hour. The second was stating that shows should serve to further the educational development of children 16 and under. And the third states that any commercials placed during any kind of educational program should not have characters from that show because it can confuse the young audience watching it. From the perspective of some parents like Jill Gross of Parenthood.com, commercials are promoting an unhealthy consumerist society in children. And though some of that may have some value and validity, pediatricians like Donald Shifrin of the American Academy of Pediatrics actually state that commercials can positively benefit children more than they can harm them, depending on the quality of the commercial. Campaigns like the Got Milk campaign, Let's Play, and NFL Play 60 all promote physical activity and a healthy lifestyle in children, and were promoted on networks like the Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. International organizations like the WHO have already started working side by side with the government to limit commercials that don't promote any healthy lifestyle and just promote commercialism as well. Along with another aspect of culture comes children's educational development. According to an article written by Brian Stelter of the New York Times, 96.7% of American households owned television sets in 2011. According to Marie-Louise Mars and Zonding Pan of the University of Wisconsin, children that were allowed to watch educational programs like Sesame Street had an 11.6% advantage in their academic life over their non-educational TV watching counterparts. And at first glance, 11.6% may not seem that great, but in school grading, it can really mean the difference between being considered an average student and being advanced. These educational programs focus mainly on not only arithmetic and reading and writing, but also world health and social skills, which are all taught at preschool and kindergarten levels. Shows also focus on teaching different world languages to children, which is also an increasing trend in schools. Parents like Lydia Morajudo of bilingualparenting.com